Hello everybody, this is Scott Hartley from DailySolution.com. Today I'll be going over MyArcadeTheme 4.0 Plus, and I'm currently running the latest 4.1.0, and I'm going to be going over the themes in a form of documentation. When you download when you add the theme, you're first going to need to make sure you have the Redux theme options plugin installed, and then when you do, to access the theme panel, go Appearance and Theme Options. Under here is where you'll see the general settings, along with a lot of other settings. You can configure it pretty well. You can fine-tune a lot of the site. So I'm going to jump into the features and explain what they do. You could change the sidebar position on the site from left or right, depending on what type of website you're doing. If you're doing an Arabic website or something that requires RTL, you can swap the sidebar position so that way it looks more in line with the type of site. We have a feature called Mobile Games. Mobile Games will only show the HTML5 games on mobile devices. This will improve the user experience because then they'll be only getting games that they can actually play. Mobile devices are not able to play Flash, Unity, Java, games like that. They can only play HTML5 or WebGL. So the Mobile Games feature allows it to only display games that are ready for those devices. And in 4.0, we released a feature, the Hide Sidebar on Mobile. This will only show the sidebar on desktop devices. This will improve the load time and user experience for mobile devices. It is a must-have feature if you're going for a mobile-first arcade. Lazy loading allows all the images on the site to be loaded only when they're in the user viewport. This improves the load time of the site, and it adds a nice little animation to it. However, if the animation you find is annoying, you can click the lazy load animation feature and disable it. This will disable our selected animation for it and just do a simple loading the image in. The blog category is the category for your blog post. This will be the main category that you'll want. You can I always set it as something generic like blog. In the future, we'll probably consider looking at a better way to handle this, but for now, this has been working just fine, and the blog posts look great. The character set is the type of Google fonts that you're looking for. This lets you choose the character set, Latin, Greek, Cyrillic, so choose one based on your current site language. From here, we're going to the header and footer options. Make sure whenever you move to a new section, always uncheck this thing. But move to the header and footer options. You can upload a favicon to your site, or you can use, and this is the little icon that displays in the header of the tabs. The logo will show on the top left corner of the site, the logo, and the footer logo will show down here if you have the MyArcadeTheme info widget down there. The login logo will show on your login page, the wp-login.php or wp-admin, depending on what your settings are for the site. The random game button is a button that appears at the end of your menu and will select a random game for your site. The top bar is the top bar that gives you the page title, the login and register buttons, the search, and follow us. I typically leave this enabled, and you can configure what features you want. If you want to do something with more advanced security, the model box may not be the best way to go about it. Therefore, using a link, it will take them to the corresponding login page, which is a lot safer and allows you to lock it down a lot better, such as using CAPTCHAs and other details. There might be bugs with CAPTCHAs using the model box. Depending on the security that your site has, it may not work. And if you find the model login or register having problems, or your security features may not be functioning, change it to the link and it will be much better. Or you can simply hide it altogether. The same goes for the register. The search button allows you to search your site by clicking in the menu. It will bring up a full screen search, and you can click and search for the items you want. You can enable or disable this option here. As the same goes for the share icons, which are actually follow icons. This will be fixed in the next update to prevent confusion. Originally the button was meant to be for searching, but it was changed to be for follow buttons. This will be changed in the update. The carousel slider is a carousel up here that displays the latest games or games of a certain category. You can configure the basic settings here. The news ticker is the same principle. It will show the games that you choose there, or if you want, you could choose something like blog, and it will only show the blog info. Something in the future to consider is to make sure we don't add this extra schema and information if they're using the blog category. And you can configure how many to show. The header code is CSS, JavaScript, or other code that you want to be added to the header of the site. If you're looking for performance, then using it in the footer is much better. But if you're adding like inline CSS, you may want to avoid using this box altogether. But if you have something like Google Analytics or something that needs to go in the header of your site, this is where you would drop the code. The footer copyright text is right here. This allows you to display the copyright text that you want in the footer. Currently mine is just powered by MyArcade plugin. The footer widgets allow you to enable or disable the footer widgets at the bottom of the site. The front page settings allows you to configure some basic home page settings. You can enable the home slider, which is your giant BX slider here, that will display games by their screenshot. You can enable, choose the category or the number that you want to show. The promoted games is your promoted games box here. This has a nice little selection window to choose how you want to sort the games, and it's just an overall nice feature. The design is the type of boxes you want to show on the site. There's many options to choose from the half width front page builder, where you can build it based on your own settings, to much more. We could go into this all day trying to configure a homepage to our liking, and that's what makes it so flexible and useful. If you want something standard though, just do the half width boxes and choose the game count to be about 3, and that's how you'll get this interface. You can exclude categories that you want to show, such as like blog, discount, things that don't necessarily belong in your home page. So if you got stuff that you don't believe fits there, don't add it, and it will clear up a lot of the home page. The front page text is mostly for SEO. The front page text just allows you to quick and easily add a text block on the home page. Having text on the site allows it to be more appealing to search engines and to draw more traffic. The Hall of Fame will show a list of users based off of their MyScore presenter list. If they have a lot of high scores, the most high scores, and medals, they will be shown as number 1. This site does not currently have any of those, but if it did, it can be viewed at on our demo site. The pre-game page allows you to do a lot, and I'm not going to go into each individual thing in depth, but I will just quickly go over the basics. A pre-game page is a page that you land on before going to the actual play page. As you can see, it gives general game information, an advertisement, and then the Play Now button. This allows you to display information about the game that you may not want to show that would impede the user experience. So showing stuff like the game info or a trailer, stuff that doesn't necessarily belong on the game page itself, you can stick it here. Also, pre-game pages have a higher CTR. There's a higher click-through rate on advertisements if you put it right above the Play Now button. Once you click it, you'll be taken to a separate page, and it will look something like this. It can include the instructions and embeds and then the related games, things that you want to show to users who are playing a game. Typically what you want to do is you want to keep everything that's not about playing the game off the pre-game page. So things like the game controls, maybe the related games you don't want to show. But basic game info is shown automatically. So you click save, and there you go. The play game page is basically the same principle, but you can additionally set what boxes you want to show. My demo is a little buggy because of all these broken links and stuff I've got going on here, because this is a development version. But you can choose to disable each one of these buttons depending on what you want. If you don't want to allow them to report a game, you may do that. Maybe you don't want the little fancy light button, or maybe you just don't want them being able to share the game from this way. Then you can easily change that by disabling each of the buttons through the menu. The category page allows you to configure how you want the category pages to look. Category pages are simply pages like this. They link from the game category. You could show things like the enabled, and then now the game, if there's a description for the category, it will be shown. If there isn't, nothing will be shown in the box. See, my game description only says puzzles. I can switch this to be a description expandable, which will hide it until I click the button. Ideally, when you have a long explanation or description for the category, which is great for search engines, you'll want to hide it so that way it doesn't push the content down and it doesn't stick out like a sore thumb. But if someone is wanting to read it, then you can easily give them the ability to view it by clicking this button. I'm not going to enable any. The layout on here is the basic layout that you want to show. We have 4 basic layouts: grid, small, large, and then half. Half is very similar to what the home page box is, and this is probably one of the most favorite category settings by me personally. Therefore, you can set the default layout to be half. And for the game order, typically you always want to do it by the newest games. However, there's always success doing it by alphabetically from A to Z. And if you're just wanting to get your most popular games out there, do the most played. Category pages may not seem a big of a deal for ranking, but they're definitely useful for your users, as they'll find games in a category that they've already have an invested interest in. While this is not the newest or the best feature we have, it's pretty handy to be able to show off what the categories look like and the type of games that are in them in a nice looking fashion. The next we have the styling options. Currently the theme style sheet is either default or dark, so you have a light theme and a dark theme. We are looking to expand these themes, but currently it's in the works. You have a boxed option, which will make it to where things like the header will be cut off and put in a box. It allows you to put a nice background, maybe if you're using background advertising, without cutting off your site. The custom CSS module allows you to modify some of the basic theme settings. That being said, you have to default back to the default theme if you want to modify the CSS by hand. You could, in theory, take the custom CSS that we have in the dark theme and paste it in there, but the reason we don't allow you to modify it is because we have to override the CSS we have in the main style sheet. So the best thing to do is to go from the default theme, start fresh, and do it your way. You may be able to write the CSS better than we did, but it also allows you to customize everything in a nice fashion. From here we go to the advertisement banner. These are where all the advertisements on the site can be configured. Let's jump into this. You have the header advertisement, which will show at the top right corner of your header. It's about a 728 by 90 banner. If you're working on a responsive site, don't worry, because after a while it will not display. On mobile devices, I am considering looking at integrating the banner to shrink by using the auto responsive code by AdSense, so you can display a 320 by 100 advertisement there, which typically has a high click-through rate on mobile devices. The Friv style layout banner will just show a Friv style banner on the home page if you have that layout selected. The banner content, vertical layout, will show it if you have the vertical layout selected on the home page, and it will put a 200 by 200 banner in the place of a large image. The pre-game banner will show what we have suggested as a 200 by 200, but I recommend doing a 300 by 250 or 336 by 280 advertisement on the pre-game banner, if you have it selected. The game content banner will actually show in the content on the play game page. You can view this by clicking your game, and you'll notice that there's a box over here. This is about a 300 by 250 advertising space. It's right underneath the game, and it's also within the content where people will be viewing the instructions. It's a very, very well placed banner. Other than that, we have the front page content banner, which will display under the front page text if you have it selected. This is just a simple 728 by 90 banner. Other advertising we have is the game preloader advertisements. We have two options. We have the pre-game banner, and then we have the game preloader. You can put your preload banner here, which is about a 300 by 250 or 250 by 336 by 280. Or you can use the AdSense for games. If you have AdSense for games, always go with AdSense for games over the typical banner. It has a higher CPM value and a higher click-through rate. I do have to make one quick correction. The pre-game banner does not show on the page. It shows above the Play Now button on the pre-game page. After you've done all that, and you've got your advertisements done, the final step is to look at your social networking. The social networking are buttons that will appear under the Follow Us when we configure the top bar. These can range from Facebook, Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Tumblr, Reddit, Instagram, Pinterest, Vimeo, Weibo, and RSS. The RSS is automatically added because it's any of your site/RSS. You could add this to a newsletter, or if you're using something like Google's FeedBurner, you could put the link there. We are constantly looking for different social networks that people want, and they're not typically hard to add, so if you have one that's not on there, you can suggest it. The key thing is we prefer to use font awesome icons to handle it, as they're fast loading and they're easier for you guys to get a nice looking icon rather than using an image. After you've done that, there's the options object, which just shows object in the JavaScript console. It's not something that you really need. And then you can import and export. If you have multiple sites, or you're just wanting to back up your settings, you can export the data file of your configuration. So if for some reason you're transferring your site and you're going to lose all your settings, download the data file and all of your settings for your current site will be saved, so you don't have to go through and paste back in the advertising code and reconfigure the site from scratch. You can download a data file, you could copy the export URL, or you can copy the data directly by it being pasted in this console. To import it, you can import from the file, so you can copy the data and import it from the file, right here, or import from the URL. So if you have another site that has the settings that you're wanting to use, just import the file to import from the URL, and your site settings will be configured just like it. After all this has been done, ideally you should have the proper site that you are looking for. This was Scott Hartley from thedailysolution.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, go over to the MyArcade plugin forums and make sure to ask them. If you have feature suggestions, bugs, or other issues that you want to address, put them in the comments below, go to our forums, or just reach out to us in general and we will try to resolve them. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope this has helped anyone and anyone's general questions regarding the theme, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.